Yo, what's going on, guys? Crispy Flakes here. So ever since yesterday when Blake Griffin was announced to not be playing any more games for the Detroit Pistons until they figure out what to do about his future, I've been like on a roll, man, trying to find the perfect Blake Griffin trade, because for the most part, nobody can seem to figure one out. Because obviously, man, he's due $75 million between this season and next season. So essentially, like this season's not really that important. He's due, $35 million next year, right, man? Because it's not like if you get him right now, it's not that big a deal if you can find salaries to actually match, which within itself is its own difficult, endeavor, man. But for the most part, guys, like I will say a lot of fan bases, they do not want Blake Griffin. They are saying he's washed up and all that. And I will say, I'm a firm believer that a player is washed up until they're not. Oftentimes us as NBA fans, we are very victim of the moment where it's just like, this is how this guy plays right now. That's how they are going to play forever. I think a good example of that is, Carmelo Anthony, before he went to the Portland Trail Blazers. Obviously, it took him, a damn near year to find an NBA team, and he was pretty nice for the Portland Trail Blazers. Dwight Howard, before he found his way to the LA Lakers, was looked upon, done in the NBA, and he ended up winning a championship. Now, with that being said, those guys obviously is not getting paid $75 million, which is where the big difference is at. But I do think that, I'm going to say off the bat, Blake Griffin, it's a huge gamble dice roll, man. You roll those dice, and there's a chance that he is just completely washed up, just too many injuries have gotten to him, and he can't offer you that much for the next season or two. But you also have that 2-season dice roll where it's like, okay, if you can afford to bring him on for, pennies on the dollar, then, there's that chance that given the right motivation and just willingness to win a championship with the right contender, maybe he can be a great second or third option, man. So I totally get it. So for this video, guys, I'm going to be going over some trades for Blake Griffin that I asked you guys about over on Twitter. There's one in particular that I think honestly makes sense for both sides, and I haven't gotten too much backlash about it. I mean, I posted a few different ones, man, and no matter what, you're going to get backlash because there's people that just totally do not want him on the team, which I totally get why, man. But with that being said, I don't know if Blake Griffin is completely done. I just think that he appears to be done, which is two totally different things, man. So yes, we are going to look at some of the trades here over on my Twitter account at CrispyFlakes2K. And yeah, we got a lot that were posted, text-wise and everything. I think it's pretty important to note to start off right here. We got this dude saying not tradable unless the Pistons trade a pick or a young player. Okay, personally, I would not mind giving up a second-round draft pick. That's completely fine. But as far as giving up a first pick, or even a good young player to get rid of Blake Griffin, makes absolutely zero sense for the Detroit Pistons. This is the team that's currently in a rebuild. It's much so like you wouldn't expect the OKC Thunder to give up a first-round pick to get rid of Al Horford. It's like, well, we know we're in a rebuild. If we got to hang on to a bad contract for 2 or 3 seasons, that's completely fine. It's not like we're winning anything anytime soon. In a case with Blake Griffin, if Blake Griffin was on, I don't know, man, like the Los Angeles Lakers, for example, with this large contract, and you wanted to trade him for literally anything, just get him off the books, that's the type of team that would give up a first-round pick to get rid of him, because they are currently in contention, and that's damn $75 million, being left on the books and stuff like that. So that's why you do that. For a rebuilding team, it makes zero sense to give up draft picks to get rid of an older, contract and player, right, man? So just want to point that out real quick here. But, yeah, we got a whole bunch of trades. So if you guys want to go on my Twitter account and go through all of them, feel free to do so. But I want to look at the pictures right here. So we got this guy, I think his name was Hassan, who said, you can't really see, but it says Tim Hardaway, James Johnson for Blake Griffin. As a Piston fan, I would definitely be down for that. But I know Tim Hardaway's been pretty damn solid at points for the Dallas Mavericks. So I don't know if they would quite do this trade. I would see why Mavericks fans would not want to, but then again, if they're looking for a new push, then, if assuming Blake Griffin can stay healthy, which is a big what if, Blake Griffin with, Kristaps Porzingis and Luka Doncic obviously could be pretty interesting, but, yeah, it would essentially mean giving up Tim Hardaway. Now, in this case, I mean, the Pistons could toss in maybe like a Wayne Ellington, who's been shooting like 47% from 3 this season. I know, man, it's Wayne Ellington, but, I don't think this was a bad trade right here, all things considered. Now, people will argue saying there's simply no good trade whatsoever, which, to his their own, right, man? But we got another one. It's James Johnson, Dwight Powell, Josh Green for Blake Griffin. Now, once again, as a Piston fan, I would totally do this for Josh Green alone, but I could see where you would not want to give up a young player for Blake Griffin. Like, I totally get that. So we have that one right there. A lot of people are saying, like right here, realistically, a buyout, in which I replied saying, what makes you think Blake Griffin's going to give up, leave $75 million on the table? Even so, let's say that Blake Griffin agrees to give up, $10 million per season. That $75 million all of a sudden becomes a $55 million buyout for Detroit. And, for the Pistons, who just got done stretching the contracts of the likes of, I believe, Caron Butler or, Josh Smith, the Pistons are not going to do a buyout for Blake Griffin. If they do, it's gonna, man, like, I will be very surprised. Okay, I will eat my words if they do, man. If they do, I will be so surprised by that. But it just doesn't make much sense to me, man. You'll be stretching out a contract for 3, 4, 5 seasons down the road where you don't know, you can't really predict the future. Like, that cap space can become so valuable later on. So I don't really get the idea of buying out unless they just really, really heavily respect Blake Griffin and be like, hey, man, like, we understand you want to go somewhere else and we can't find a trade for you. But if that's the case, man, it's like, it is, you have to think, you want to be loyal to players, but also you have to realize it's a business. I think the Pistons were pretty nice about trading Derrick Rose for Dennis Smith Jr. and giving him what he wanted. But at the end of the day, you got to be a little smart about it too, right, man? So we have a trade here by Murray. I believe I don't remember seeing this one. We got the Pistons getting Darius Miller, Carson Edwards, okay, whatever. Thunder getting Blake Griffin, Romeo Langford, 2 second-round picks and a first-round pick, and the Celtics getting Trevor Ariza and George Hill. This isn't too bad of a trade. I don't really see the Celtics giving up a first-round pick for Trevor Ariza and George Hill, although those are 2 guys that could help them right now. But even so, they don't really need a George Hill. They already have, Peyton Pritchard and Jeff Teague for a veteran point guard. So, yeah, I don't really see this one happening. Now, the Thunder, it's not bad getting Romeo Langford and more picks out of it. But, yeah, the Celtics definitely take an L on that one, I would say. We got one here from Daniel that I remember seeing, I think was pretty decent. Pistons, JaMychal Green, Gary Harris. Nuggets get Rajon Rondo, Blake Griffin, Brandon Goodwin, and a 2023 first-round pick. And the Hawks get Will Barton out of it. So, yeah, the Nuggets bring on 2 veterans. Blake Griffin be nice alongside Jokic. Could play behind Paul Millsap. Nice little rotation right there. This is not really a bad trade. The Pistons take on Gary Harris for 2 seasons, but it's a lot smaller contract than Blake Griffin's. I actually like this trade. This one is not bad from a 3-team standpoint. So pretty solid, I would say. In this case, we got another one here. Corey Joseph-Jabari and Buddy Hield's not going to get traded for Blake Griffin. That's just, it's not worth, trading Buddy Hield for that in my case. Like, I would love Buddy Hield on the trade, but yeah, I don't see that trade going down. We got Draymond Kelly Oubre for Blake Griffin. That's not going to happen with the Warriors. Yeah, and then we got, this is the trade that I liked right here, man, which is going to bring me, to the next portion of the video right here. Okay, so the trade here is by Kamara YT. It is a trade with the Miami Heat, guys. So it's going to involve, okay, well, I'm going to show you the trade that he had, and then I'm going to modify it to make it, in my opinion, even more fair for the Miami Heat side of things. So the trade that he had offered up was Blake Griffin, just Blake Griffin over to the Miami Heat in exchange for... It was going to be, where are we at, man? Kelly Olynyk. It was going to be Myers Leonard, who, by the way, is, I believe, out for the entire season. So, assuming a trade could happen with that. It was also going to be Andre Iguodala, who, of course, has the $15 million salary. And it was going to be a 2nd-round pick here, man. So, yeah, with this, the Pistons would need to trade somebody else away. But, okay, so for me, I thought this trade definitely was not bad. But I wanted to spice it up a little bit. First and foremost, I'm going to say, for the Pistons to get off Blake Griffin's large contract for these 2 seasons, yet they're still taking out 2-season contracts, I would say you would not need to include the 2nd-round pick. If anything, I would say the Detroit Pistons include a 2nd-round draft pick in this case, and I would be totally cool with that. Like, there's no issue with that with me whatsoever. But also, a lot of people are arguing too that how much of like a good defensive role player you want in Andre Iguodala. Now, I would argue that Iguodala is, you want to call Blake Griffin washed it up. Well, look no further than Andre Iguodala. Like, obviously, he still plays good defense, but he's not as good as his Golden State Warriors today. But what I'm going to suggest right here, I don't know if this would be considered tampering. So if it is, hey, maybe we got to tamper to get a trade done here in this case. But okay, let's say that this happens. So essentially, the Pistons are going to get Kelly Olynyk out of it. Myers Leonard, out for the season, probably does not re-sign it. And Iguodala. What if the Pistons traded for Iggy, bought out his contract, the $15 million, whatever it was left on the books, and then he re-signs with the Miami Heat? I don't know if that's allowed, or maybe they would have to buy him out and wait a little bit, and it would be a few weeks before he could go back to the Miami Heat. So essentially, he would not be part of the trade, right? Now, he'd be part of the trade to get the trade done, but he would not be part of the trade. So we're going to take him off here with the assumption that he's traded to the Detroit Pistons, bought out, a smaller contract for Detroit to buy out, and then returns to the Miami. He also has a team option, so maybe he goes as far as, to do this, maybe take a little bit less money. Maybe he's able to extend his contract by an extra season with the Miami Heat on a smaller deal, thus kind of, putting out his longevity in the NBA, right, man? So we got that. Now the Pistons would also need to give somebody else up, so I'm just gonna toss somebody in here. I'm gonna toss him in, not assuming he would be part of the trade, but what kind of contract this man here? Okay, so I'm gonna have to toss in Iguodala here. Let me do this, guys. I'm gonna turn off the because obviously the cap's going to be screwed up here in this case with this going on, because Iguodala is supposed to be part of the trade, but I'm trying to save a step by putting him back on the team. So give me 1 second. I'm going to turn off the salary cap so I can get this to work. But like I said, it's only getting screwed up because Iguodala is not part of the trade, but he is. But he isn't. Okay, guys, so the trade is complete. So I think we also have to talk about in this case, I know Heat fans are probably wondering, why the hell would the Miami Heat do this trade? Like I said earlier, man, it's a gamble roll. With the, with the worst case scenario is that Blake Griffin is completely just done in the NBA. He's not very good anymore. And the next season, you got to pay him some money, right, man? Now, what the idea of the Miami Heat doing this is that you guys got to keep in mind, man, the Heat are 11-16 on the season. Now, obviously, a lot of that's coming down to like injuries and stuff like that, man, but also losing some pieces like Jay Crowder from the offseason, right, man? So by doing this, you're doing that gamble roll where maybe Blake Griffin in the short term here can give you that spark on this team. And like I said, man, it essentially is Blake Griffin for Kelly Olynyk. And you get a second round pick out of it, man. You still get Andre Iguodala back, assuming that is allowed, which I don't know if it is. So yeah, you are away from Myers Leonard's contract. You get a smaller contract issued to Andre Iguodala with the buyout, and you don't have Olynyk. So maybe you guys love Olynyk over there. I know he has some really good, moments and makes some three-point shots and stuff like that, but so does Blake. Blake has those games where he can knock down 6 or 7 threes. So yeah, it's a gamble, but also you have to keep in mind too that with having that second round draft pick, if Blake Griffin is not all that great, or just like maybe okay, or maybe a different team wants to take a chance on him, going into next season when he has that player option, at that point it's an expiring deal. So you might be able to work out something with a team that's looking to get a large expiring contract, maybe get off some larger 2-year deals or something like that, maybe some role players that could help the Heat next season. That contract becomes a lot more tradable, man. So yeah, that's really my justification. Like I said, there is a chance that maybe you are watching this and hate the trade, which is fine, man. It's been a tough time trying to find people to agree with any sort of Blake Griffin trade, but the idea is that, hey, maybe he's not totally washed up, right, man? Maybe he's not totally washed up. And then for the Detroit Pistons, it's like, Olynyk probably gets some sort of playing time, I would imagine, as a power forward, just being a shooter. Myers Leonard's obviously out for the season, so he's not going to play. Jahlil Okafor, let's switch him out with Isaiah Stewart. It's not going to lead to, the Detroit Pistons making the playoffs. Like, Olynyk's not like that, right, man? But yeah, it does free up more space for guys like Saddiq Bey, who just got Player of the Week, by the way, in the Eastern Conference. Shout out to Saddiq. So yeah, it's pretty cool from there, man. So let's go ahead and simulate the season. We are starting from the beginning of the season. I like to see how a fully, completely healthy team can do, and we'll kind of leave it at there, man. But yeah, I don't know. It is funny because, talking about NBA trades on Twitter is a lot like talking about, fantasy football trades and stuff like that, man, where it's just like you always have the other side trying to like scam the other side, where it's it gets to the point where there's no trade is worked out. Trust me, I am completely aware of Blake Griffin's contract situation. I'm completely aware of how he's playing this season, but I'm also aware too that when Blake Griffin is motivated, he is still a very skillful basketball player. He's developed from being that guy that just, tries to dunk in everybody's head, man. Like, he's upped his handling. His three-point shot at times looks good. Other times, you kind of wish he wouldn't shoot so many of them. But, yeah, he definitely still has something left in the tank. With that being said, man, I don't think he has $75 million left in the tank. But the Pistons are trying to figure out something to do with him. I don't think a buyout makes much sense for Detroit. I think at that point you just hold on to him, and maybe you hope, wishful thinking is that he would decline his player option if you held on to him when you got pissed off or something. But I don't quite want to do that to Blake Griffin either. But NBA fans can't get mad at the Pistons decide to do that. If you as your team's not willing to take him out, not willing to take him on either, right, man? So that's just kind of how it is. But I'm totally aware of his situation. This is the best trade I saw. That doesn't mean it's a great trade. It's just the best that I saw. I didn't think it was the Heat giving up too much, and getting a second-round pick out of it's nice. Getting Iggy back obviously is nice. And, a little bit of a dice roll to maybe get this team a little bit of a spark game in the playoffs and stuff like that, right, man? So, for Olynyk, So yeah, man, that's all we got. Okay, here we go. We got one more game here against the Toronto Raptors. So 50-32 for a completely healthy Miami Heat team, which, you know, is, I mean, there's obviously a risk with that too. But I would even buy out Kelly Olynyk. You guys can have him back too, man. I'll be 100% honest. But yeah, the Heat, 6th in the Eastern Conference in this case, so they didn't make the playoffs. Let's go with these player stats. Curious how Blake Griffin did play, probably poorly because it's based off his 2K stats. But hey, look at that, man. 18 points, 5 assists per game, 6 rebounds. Not too bad. Shot about 31% from 3. Yeah, I would say Blake Griffin probably, I guess he could probably get to like that 33-34% tile range when it comes down to it, but he played pretty solid as a third, as a third role player, man. It's like, is he willing to be that? I think in this case he probably would. Plus he would still get shots up too, because Jimmy Butler is one of those guys where, yeah, sometimes he can go off for damn 40 points, other times he's cool with being like the Draymond Green and just like getting other players involved and playing good defense and stuff like that, right, man? So yeah, we have it with that. Pistons were worst in the NBA. No big time surprise there. Let's see if it actually gets this team to the playoffs or anything. And, well, they lost in the first round to the Cleveland Cavaliers. It is 2K, so take it with what it is, man. But regardless, I think it's a good opportunity for the Heat to maybe take a little bit of a gamble, and maybe it pays off, maybe it doesn't. I don't know, man. That's all we got for this video, though. Let me know what y'all think. Give me some trades in the comment section below if you got some better ones. I'd love to hear them. Just keep in mind that it doesn't make sense for Detroit to toss in a young player or like any high draft pick, like a first rounder is not really going to happen. Just doesn't make sense, man. And a buyout, I mean, maybe in some world it could happen, but once again, I don't think it makes a lot of sense, unless it's quite the buyout deal for Detroit. So that's all we got, man. Thank you all so much for watching, and peace out.